I have been going to Tupelo Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Tupelo Smiles.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Well, good evening, Jason, and everyone else tuning in live with us here on Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Thank you so much for joining us here at 6 p.m. on a cloudy evening that will transition more rainy overnight and more stormy eventually ahead. Outside, we begin in Hattiesburg this evening, showing up with clouds, 72 current temperature there. Hey, listen, next couple of days, not a lot of great interest there, but we think by the weekend, Hattiesburg and South Mississippi, much more in the target zone for severe weather chances than locations farther north. That's right, we're going to start looking at severe weather threats for this upcoming weekend. Again, I don't think this ever becomes a high confidence scenario, but a level 2 confidence level at this point here to have possibly some brief wind gusts out of this storm system, perhaps even again here in North Mississippi, more likely to have impacts and everything else down in South Mississippi from this impending storm system that's eventually working toward us. And confidence on this will obviously increase as we go throughout the week. One of the concerns on wind gusts out of this next storm system is the fact we have so many hangers. Sometimes folks call them widowmakers still up there in the trees from the ice storm. Even lesser wind gusts could have impacts because of that. So we're going to look exclusively at Storm Finder, something you'll see only here on Mississippi Live Weather as we're looking ahead toward a first look at the weekend forecast. That's coming up here in a couple of minutes. Rain chances, though, return overnight. We'll check on how much we could be talking about in the rain bucket with that. And are you prepared for flooding? I don't think this is a flooding forecast per se. The heavier rainfall this weekend, something we're watching, but it's severe weather preparedness week. And our meteorologist Gabe Maynard's talking about the type of severe weather, flooding, that kills more people than tornadoes and hurricanes combined most years. So you want to stay tuned for that. It's one of those things we easily overlook. Here in the Room to Room Weather Center, though, we're tracking rainfall chances overnight. As you'll notice, up to 40% on that coverage by 10 p.m. to midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning. Temperatures drop. You'll notice there's a shift in our wind direction there, mainly out of kind of a southwesterly direction, but then you start to see that end there on northerly winds into the overnight hours. And tomorrow, that does bring in some somewhat cooler temperatures that start to arrive Wednesday, probably reach their minimum as we go toward Thursday, as we're cooler, but nowhere near as cold as we were looking back a couple weeks ago. Outside Pontotoc right now, we're 63 degrees at this instant. Good evening, y'all in Pontotoc. Hopefully you're having a fantastic day at this point. The cloud cover, maybe not as bright and shiny as we had earlier on, but not a lot of rain falling from that, at least in Pontotoc yet. Shelby coming in 66 degrees. You can see on the graphic there beside me, I might have to zoom that in just a little bit more for that, and we'll show it on Mama Justice Doppler radar in a second. We show just a little bit of lighter variety shower activity there for locations in the Delta. We expect to have, again, more of that kind of progressing in as we go into the overnight hours. Temperatures around 70 for the high today, only upper 60s for quite a few spots, and still kind of holding on to lower 60s as we're still awaiting the coldest air moving in. Mama Justice Doppler radar, as we alluded to it a moment ago there, not a lot of this rain really making it to the surface on our 1 hour loop here. You notice how there's almost kind of this circle that just stays right there. Let's make it actually a 6 hour loop. I think maybe that'll make it slightly more obvious there. That's what we're talking about. There's this kind of area here, if you kind of watch almost kind of an imaginary zone where the rain just isn't really encroaching as far eastward. That's a sign that, again, we're trying to moisten up the lower level. So this will gradually contract in around our radar site as more of that rain starts making it closer to the ground there. But the showers all fairly light at this point here, maybe slightly more moderate actually out there toward Marianna, Arkansas, and Forest City. This is our first front moving through, and this will drop temperatures just a little bit. No big drop there. And again, I think this bears saying there is no second round of winter weather, and I'm going to keep saying that because as we talked about 2 weeks ago in reference to Valentine's Day, just a lot of hype folks out there trying to get your clicks and make their money. There is no second round of severe weather. Now, winter weather. Now, as far as severe weather goes, things could eventually get more interesting. We're looking at the system back there toward California. This is on kind of a path here, what we call a cutoff low pressure center, where it will slowly work its way eastward and eventually come right over top of us this upcoming weekend, and that will increase our rain and storm chances once it eventually makes it in here. Now, again, confidence remains pretty low as far as severe weather is concerned. I mean, if we zoom ahead here and look at Friday's chances as of this point, you'll see that there is no official risk area there, no official risk area for Saturday, no official risk area for Sunday at this point, but we do expect as we get closer and confidence increases, we'll probably have at least a limited risk for some stronger thunderstorms around the southeast and potentially South Mississippi in particular, much higher confidence levels down there. So Futurecast, again, widespread showers. This is all light, maybe a few rumbles, nothing that's overly strong. We will look at Storm Tracker and those chances coming up here in a couple of moments, but this just not one that we're terribly impressed with here for the more than really moderate rainfall as this moves in. We'll get a lot closer again on Futurecast related to this here in just a couple moments. But I think the big takeaway is this initial wave and that front you see there, that's going to shove moisture down to the Gulf. How much of that returns is critically important to how strong the thunderstorms are this upcoming weekend. But we still have a few days before that, and these are mainly showers overnight in the first part of your Wednesday there. We're at 40% on the rain coverage at 6 a.m., 30% by 9 a.m., as well as toward noontime and diminishing in the afternoon. I think only a few of us still have some rain showers around when we're picking the kids up from school. I'd say South US 82, the only spots, and even there, they should be fairly light. Low 60s is cooler than we were for today. And I think we're going to be down back into the 30s, maybe approaching the freezing point by early morning Thursday. We're tracking just how cold that'll get. An exclusive look at your storm tracker, and in particular, looking at Storm Finder and where it's placing the greatest likelihood to see some of those thunderstorms as Mississippi Live Weather continues here in the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
As we move into storm season, here's something most homeowners don't realize after a storm. Roof damage isn't always obvious. Wind can lift shingles, breaking the seal. Hail can bruise them below, and flashing around chimneys and pipes can loosen without you ever knowing. That damage may not show up for months. If your area has strong wind or hail, a professional inspection will help bring you clarity before small damage turns into bigger problems.
Save today at Room to Room's President's Day sale. 55% off furniture and mattresses, 20% off accessories,
and 24-month special financing.
The time to act is now.
Room to Room Tupelo, where we know there's no place like your home.
You wonder how they're going to experience the real world in real safety, where all kids are welcome and everyone has a path forward to new skills, advancement, leadership, something they will carry with them the rest of their lives.
This portion of Mississippi Live Weather is presented by Little's Jewelers.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Thank you so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Rain coverage probably around 40, maybe 50% on what will be primarily just showers for your Wednesday. And really, it's tonight and into the first half of Wednesday that we're most likely to see that. Likely dry for Thursday, and then rain chances start coming back up Friday and into this upcoming weekend. At this point, greatest confidence is Saturday, but we'll have some thunderstorms into Saturday night and early Sunday morning, in particular, kind of the timing there. I want to show you the 7-day forecast, and we'll kind of move on from that. But before we get too deep in here, you'll notice rain chances there. We show for really those 3 days, Friday through Sunday. We're still refining the timing on when this main upper level system arrives. So we do expect these percentages to possibly go up a little bit more for Sunday, in particular, first half of your Sunday prior to dawn when this is really kind of rolling in. And we're not a lot colder behind this, so it's no real big burst of Arctic air. As you can see, the coldest early Thursday morning at 35, but that's a sign that, again, this pattern is hinging on the other side of winter, which is more often than not stormy. And that's the way things largely look. Let's look at our exclusive Storm Finder. This is something you'll see only here on Mississippi Live. And you'll know Storm Finder does have quite a few showers and thunderstorms out there overnight. Now, what you will not see on this are the colors here showing up very high. So while this has some darker returns, it does not have any sort of high confidence that we're talking about any stronger thunderstorms out of this. So again, this is maybe a rumble, more moderate rainfall, really at most, and we definitely need some rainfall, so I don't think we'll have a whole lot of complaints there. As you'll notice, Storm Finder showing the majority of any sort of active weather moving east of us as we go pretty quickly into tomorrow. That's not to say we don't have a few isolated showers, but most of it staying out of here. So I'm going to let this thing kind of zip through the next couple of days, and we'll pick things up on your Friday and give you an example what Storm Finder looks like when it's finding some thunderstorms, like back there into Texas, some stronger thunderstorms that it's depicting there as we look toward, say, Friday evening. So where you see the yellow here, that is looking at the density of lightning strikes. And we're kind of leveraging the idea that obviously a thunderstorm produces lightning. And then when we look at the storm chances there and kind of the purple, you get kind of the combination of here of the future radar, futurecast there, the lightning, and again, the storm chances all kind of layered. So we're looking for kind of a peak in all three of those, where we have more of kind of the pink colors, where we have more of the yellows and oranges, and then obviously we have the precipitation there. So it's that combination of the three that kind of gives us greater confidence here. And so certainly the storm system, pretty effective at producing some showers and thunderstorms back west of us, back into Oklahoma there. Confidence much greater back into Arkansas and Louisiana there through midday on Saturday. Notice for us, we do have a little bit of pink here, but not a high amount as far as that's concerned. And into your Saturday evening, there's kind of a split here, right? Between more active weather still back out into Texas, back out into Arkansas and Louisiana. And kind of that's where the peak confidence level is on storm chances. So what I think we want to take away from this, kind of looking at an early look at this, and again, this will get better as we get closer through the week. Yes, I do see some yellow on here, so some lightning, some legitimate thunderstorms are possible. When we start looking at the chances, though, confidence is still greater that it'll probably be slower late Saturday night before we start to see the more active weather move in. Storm Finder does not go out beyond 95 hours, which we're looking at the farthest time period out we can look at on this here. We'll have, again, updated look at this tomorrow and even potentially tonight at 10 o'clock. But the takeaway is this. I think the timing is late Saturday night. I think thunderstorms are possible. I think central and south Mississippi, most likely locations if we were to see something stronger for that to occur. No issues with strong thunderstorms on your Wednesday. There will be some rainfall around that obviously messes with your morning commute and with the kids probably out there at the bus stop. 53, that pickup temperature on our IMPC school bus forecast. We're 62 degrees as we look toward drop-off in the afternoon. And the majority of us dry by that point in time. Mama Justice Doppler radar, again, mainly dry for most locations. We kind of see all the gray showing through here on the map. That's obviously where we're looking below where the showers are and back out here towards Senatobia and Hernando. We do have a little bit of moisture, obviously making it the ground, but not really adding up to a whole lot in the rain bucket for those locations, nor is it up here toward around Corinth. I mean, come on, even if we were to get some of this down to the ground, let's see if I can get this to pull up our rainfall rates on this, which are not spectacular. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, not even really into the moderate category in that regard. So Futurecast, again, keeping this all pretty light as we go overnight to maybe some moderate rainfall. But as we showed you on our Storm Finder a minute ago, not a lot of lightning with this, though. As you can see, some of those reds showing up out here toward Clarksdale, back out there toward Charleston and Panola County, back around Batesville, but more of a chance probably up into Tennessee. And even there, again, it's not particularly high confidence we'll see some rumbles, but I think there's just enough there. You saw it maybe for the briefest of moments out there showing up from Saltillo back to Boonville and Iuka before it moved toward Russellville, that there could be, again, some moderate rainfall and a few rumbles out there for your morning commute tomorrow. If this slows down at all, that'd be a greater likelihood. So low temperatures, 36 where we typically should be. I mean, come on, we're 46 there, 10 above in Holly Springs, Senatobia, 46 degrees. We're 54 there in Greenwood, 56 in Belzona, 51 in Houston, and 50 for the Tupelo area, 46 Boonville, and for Corinth. So still some light isolated showers, mainly lighter showers here, 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning on your early Wednesday there. Through midday, a couple rumbles, but again, nothing that's particularly significant. And all that kind of sliding southward with only a few residual leftover showers there, Louisville to Macon to maybe Columbus by around 3 o'clock as the kids are coming home from school. High temperatures on Wednesday, we'll get to in a moment. But looking at rain chances between now and tomorrow afternoon, we do show a few stripes there. We have some brighter greens on the latest version here of Futurecast. But where we're looking at that, brighter greens where we start getting a half-inch of rainfall. So that tells you in many cases, unless you're lucky enough to get one of those thunderstorms overhead, this is going to be much more miss than hit on our various projections. I mean, maybe a half-inch of rainfall, but a lot of us probably considerably less than that We need rain because we're still, believe it or not, in a pretty substantial drought in a lot of spots. 65 Eupora, 68 in Kosciuszko, high temperatures. Again, nowhere near the record in the upper 70s, which is a little cooler than yesterday's record was. But in general, again, this is still way above our normal for this time of the year. And then the northerly winds kick in. Those north winds, again, behind our front, they are working to do a couple things. Bring in the cooler air, but I think maybe the biggest difference when we start talking about storm chances is it's also air that is drier, hence the brown color that I'm showing on here is that drier air kind of spreading southward. How much of that is in place? Because that's really kind of the critical thing on storm chances for the weekend is if this is ineffective at pushing this front all the way down to the Gulf, we're going to be closer to a little more moisture, and that would then enhance our chances to see some better rain chances as we look into the weekend, and also storm chances go along with that. So as far as low temperatures are concerned, we're going to be probably mid-30s for Water Valley, for Bruce and Houston, early morning Thursday. This is as cold as we get. And you'll notice even at coldest, I show maybe touching the freezing point at 32 or 33 degrees there up in Alcorn County. Everybody above the freezing point, and that's as cold as we get with this front moving through initially here. Wind chill temperatures, upper 20s, lower 30s, maybe some mid 30s out there. But again, this is as cold as it gets in the entire extended 7-day forecast going forward. And that means obviously up from there. I mean, in a big way, we're 43 for low temperatures by Friday, 48 by Saturday, 53 by Sunday. And by the way, that 53 is about where we should be for our normal and average high for this time of year. So that shows you a lot more moisture coming in. And if confidence in storms becomes greater, it's possible that that number would have to go up for low temperatures as well because of all that moisture coming up from the Gulf. One of the things that we're watching there. But Thursday, still largely dry. North winds shifting a little bit more kind of easterly. And as that kind of shifts more easterly, that's a sign again of our front sort of shifting through, or at least starting to kind of shift more that more unstable air a little closer to us, but we're still not in a direction we're bringing moisture out of the Gulf. And if we're expecting our first of our showers to get a little more likely by your Friday, still some time before that happens. So Thursday's high temperatures, we normally, typically for this time of year, should be 57. Instead, we're 64 there in Greenville, and this is behind our front. As cool as we get for high temperatures, we're still low 60s to mid 60s, so well above what we expect for this time of the year. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. Again, tomorrow, showers overnight, probably greatest coverage 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. If you have that Mississippi Live weather app, you're going to be in good shape as far as that is concerned. That'll keep you ahead of any issues that we have there. And our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, will be tracking the latest there using, Mama Justice Doppler radar, guiding you through any issues. 6:30, 7:30 a.m. here in the Room Room Weather Center. She'll get you out the door with everything you need to know. We appreciate all of you for supporting us and for, of course, watching Maggie every day. I mean, very entertaining person. Of just a high quality person. If you haven't got the chance to check out what Maggie does in the morning, she's probably one of the best meteorologists we have here. Sorry, Gabe. I'm saying that above me as well. She's just a fantastic person. Anyway, so 5 p.m. temperature, probably 59 for tomorrow. But you'll notice again back into the 30s. So we do cool off fairly quickly by early morning Thursday. We're 62 for Thursday's high, 64 degrees by Friday, 65 Saturday, and 66 Sunday. And those rain chances, as we kind of alluded to there, some of those probably expand a little bit deeper into your Sunday, potentially with this storm system, which that was interesting. Hold on, let's try that again. Is that gonna go out of blurriness? Was I just in the right spot that the camera decided, okay. Well, maybe it thinks we should take a brief break. We're going to do that. I'm going to look at the jet stream analysis and kind of how fuel will work in here with thunderstorms here in a moment. We're also going to talk to Gabe about the probably most likely severe weather killer, and that's flooding, as Mississippi Live Weather continues from the Room to Room Weather Center right after this.
I know you're going through a lot. I wonder if you know that we can get help. Let's see how far we can go. Love, your mind.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
1 in 10 kids vape. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
The Health Class Film Guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Okay, welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Lee Lemon's there in the comments. We appreciate y'all for joining the chat. Lee was a big follower of us back over when we were at the television station for a lot of years, and we appreciate him. You know, with that question right there at the top, I think you can see it. Could you guys go over the new severe weather outlook, Mac, that the SPC is going to be using this year? Some new graphics within the level areas. I'm going to bring Gabe in on this discussion for a moment. And we have not prepped this, and I'm going to try not to go too deep down a tangent related to this here. Gabe, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to end up showing those new graphics that SPC offers. Let's kind of give some background here. So the graphic that's behind Gabe and kind of behind me is from the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. And so they put these outlooks out, and occasionally we will adjust them a little bit, but largely it's one of the things government puts out, so we kind of pass it along. They are more thinly slicing some of the significant risks this year. Gabe, I'm not really sure it helps from a communication standpoint. What's your opinion?
I mean, there is a such thing as too much and too little, and I feel like 5 is a magic number whenever we're communicating areas that are more likely to see some of those reports, whereas areas that are, maybe going to be affected, but not as much. And so I feel like, having 5, it kind of sends a message that we need to send, and you don't really need to change it. If it ain't broke, why fix it? That's the golden phrase.
Well,
right?
I mean, the thing is that like people are always wanting to like make it better, and I get that. But this, I'm not really sure. So I'll see if I can pull up their website, and I'm trying to see if it has it.
Unfortunately, I don't think there's an outlook anywhere right now.
No, there isn't. So I don't have anything that I can kind of show at that level yet. So Lee, we will answer that more as we get a little bit. We actually get one of those in. I'll say this, the 1 through 5 outlook, about the first 3 or 4 years we could show it when I was at the TV station, I did not show it. And I didn't show it because I disagreed with the naming structure. Because if you look at that, and I don't know if pull up that graphic, if you can pull up that severe graphic real quick there. Or actually, hold on, I could probably just pull that up. Where is it at? Was it what do you remember what your severe risk graphic was just under severe? Do you remember?
Or the threat level, or
yeah, the one you showed yesterday.
Yesterday. What happened yesterday?
Okay, severe weather preparedness.
Oh yes.
Let's see if this is nope, that's not it.
Well, that's something we will be going over.
Well, but do you remember what it was called?
Not off the top of my head, I do not.
The one you showed yesterday? Okay. Well, that's why we shouldn't just go with it off the cuff. Because I don't see, of all the graphics in there, I don't see that one showing up. Well, I apologize. Under risk? Well, Lee, this is what I get. I should have saved your question for the end, huh?
Is it under threat?
No, it's your 1 through 5 risk levels that you had.
Oh, it's under explainers in studio.
Go pull it up.
Okay.
Go pull it up. I'll bring me back, and I'll let you change it behind me when that comes up there. So sorry for going on down the tangent there so deep. So Gabe will pull that up here in just a moment. I will show I'm seeing him digging through there, so he's not finding it. I'm gonna show Jetstream here real quick, Gabe, and we'll come back to that. So this is a combination of our upper level winds and fuel, which is one of the things that we use to forecast active and severe weather. And so we're looking at this big dip we have back toward the western part of the United States there. And so that big dip that we see there is our long wave trough. This is going to bring us the active weather this upcoming weekend. I think the question is not as much, are we going to get this storm system overhead, but is there enough time for the rest of what you see on here, what we show the fuel, to really truly kind of get in place ahead of this? Friday, we're still far enough ahead that I think we're going to be probably in pretty good shape there. By Saturday, though, things get a little bit trickier as our storm system still solidly back into Texas at that point. This is our GFS or American model there. we're still kind of in this prime zone. Anytime we're between kind of the base of the trough and up here with the kind of leading shortwave ridge in advance, we're kind of in that developmental zone. And so we don't really show that instability getting in here until, honestly, on this particular projection, Sunday. So I think that maybe Gabe has located that graphic, but if you haven't, I'll look for it here in a minute. I won't go back over the monitor for a second. Let's talk about this. So Gabe, the upper level system still on GFS, still kind of timing out there solidly Sunday, which is similar to yesterday where it had it as well. Thoughts?
So while the main front, yes, will be going through, honestly, I had it more on Saturday compared to Sunday with that frontal system. What I have on Sunday is primarily going to be wraparound moisture, and Euro and GFS kind of lining up with that, but you basically have that low forming right overhead and gradually moving across North Mississippi. But what you have is you have a warm front that's building through on Friday, giving us some limited rain potential.
So real quick, but like how do the other models compare? I guess I should have been clearer on this. So I'm looking at this. The thing that catches my eye as I get rid of like the upper level winds for a second, which I think are largely in place, is, I don't really get a big flare up of instability until Sunday morning potentially in here. Now, granted, it's still largely south. Like that's absolutely true. It's also interesting that our upper level low kind of shrinks southward there on that. So that's not exactly the way we typically expect it. The trajectory of it we expect to be kind of more southwest to northeast, or kind of west to east. So the fact that it's kind of moving northwest to southeast is still kind of a little odd in this situation. I don't know, not everything lining up there, but I still feel like that's almost the exact same timing that GFS had yesterday.
But you know what you just said? Not lining up. And that's key to this forecast. Timing, yes, it's there. But the thing that's not lining up is that instability with the front. And so I'm pulling it up behind the scenes, and right now, where that line, that cold front is setting up, and this is the latest run on GFS, right overhead, directly over the top of North Mississippi actually, I can pull it up right here behind me, so bear with me. So yeah, there you go. This is 9Z on Sunday, so that's 3 a.m. on your Sunday morning. And where we were tracking the instability just a moment ago was at 6 p.m. on Sunday. So if that instability got here Sunday morning as this front was going on through, then I would be, catching my attention a little bit more. But the fact that we are lining up to where we, and if we even go back a few scans, this is midnight, Saturday night into Sunday morning, and it's just now crossing the river. And by then, instability not as much lining up with that, and that's a good thing. We want to stay prepared. We want to stay in the know, but when those things don't line up, this is GFS.
GFS, okay.
And I noticed that earlier with the instability, it's not lining up, and that almost brought a little bit of reassurance in the fact that the instability almost is like, it gets here and it's like, where'd everyone go? Everyone left the party.
Well, the good news is the good news and bad news on this is that this is still what? Wednesday evening, Thursday evening, Friday evening, Saturday evening. We're 5 days out. So we expect some inconsistencies on that. Show me Euro. I want to see Euro.
So Euro, this is, again, midnight and a little bit further south, but it's still right over the top of Mississippi Sunday morning, not Sunday evening. So again, instability gets there. No one's at the party.
But that only gets to, I-20 corridor with more meaningful instability. That makes more sense, I think, as far as the positioning and everything is concerned, because again, that would make sense with the fuel not getting as far north and with kind of the odd angle. The upper level low angles, what gets me. Can you pull up 500 millibar vorticity from Euro?
Hopefully that is something that is supported here on this website.
Yeah, if not, I'll pull it up on mine.
Got it. Let it just load in.
Okay, and can you go wider?
Yeah. Do you want me to go the entire national level?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, full national level. I want to see the angle on that because that's the thing. The angle of the upper level low is the thing that caught my eye.
We're halfway there. Teaching patience, one weather phenomena at a time.
You know what's ridiculous? We got gig internet there. Everything's fast. We might need to reboot that computer.
Probably. It has been a couple days.
Are there? What kind of tabs do we have on there?
Too many. I've pulled a mat and I was just opening tab after tab.
Okay. Well,
so this is Sunday, and yeah, I mean, as you're talking about the vorticity that's over the southeast,
So go slowly between that. I want to see the angle of. So that does not go as full cutoff low as I'm looking at 300 millibar heights.
This is 500. This is euro.
Go 300 euro or 250 or 300. So
it doesn't have vorticity on that.
I know. I'm not going to have vorticity. I'll deal with. I want to see if it's closed low, like what GFS had. So I apologize. We're going all nerd mode on you here. The Nerdcast is in full. Hey Gabe, you need to go back there and get the glasses from the other room. Nerdcast.
We got to debut that.
We do.
So hang
keep
on,
on going.
Thursday.
Is that all? This is 250. What is this? 300.
200.
Okay.
You want to go 3?
No. Just keep going. I want to get all the way to like up through Sunday. Yeah. See, that's not closed low. So that is a drastically different. I mean, let's see here. There we go. Show this side by side. That's a completely different outlook on this. I mean, way different. Let me see. I should be able to.
Because that's the same time frame. That's noon right here, and that's noon on yours.
Yeah, that's dramatically different. See how you have a dip on Gabe's there. Go and point to the dip. You dip, I dip, we dip. Nah, it's a different thing. Okay. This is a much more pronounced dip there, right over top of us. So what's interesting to me is this is almost the exact same thing GFS showed yesterday. And I pick at and throw GFS under the bus every possible opportunity. But go ahead.
Give respect to the GFS in this circumstance, because I was with you, lining up with Euro a little bit more. Last Friday, we were tracking the chances, and Euro was way more on Friday. GFS was way more on Saturday. Who ended up prevailing? GFS, because now Euro's lining up.
It's not here yet.
It isn't, but Euro's lining up with it now, and that consistency, it felt like one gave a little bit more than the other.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, break out the glasses, Gabe, and then I'll let you do. Do you have your stuff loaded in this?
I do not.
Okay. Do we have to load back up? I'll load in your segment here, and we'll answer some questions for a moment while you do that. I'll let you get your professor. Do you want to get your professor glasses on?
I got it. Do you want the coat too?
That's up to you. I'd say just the glasses today.
Okay.
I'll pull the chat back up, and we'll talk here for a moment.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So again, pulling the chat up. Appreciate y'all there in Amory. Glad Tink that you are learning something here. Let's look at. I'm going to see if I can pull up Gabe's information on the flash flooding, because flash flooding, believe it or not, is a more prolific weather killer than tornadoes or hurricanes combined. I know that's ridiculous. I'll bet he put it in Gabe 6, 4:36 p.m. Yep, I think so. Let me double click that.
It's also in the flash flooding file on frames and explainers.
Okay.
Frames.
So this one, or no, the flooding file. Okay, it's right there.
Yeah, and do the turnaround, don't drown, flash flooding watch, and then flooding tips. Matt, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm blind as a bat with these on.
Are you really?
I can't see it.
Is it that bad?
I am hyper focused on the camera, but I have to be looking directly at the camera. Anything beyond that, can't see a thing.
Okay. Everybody, we're gonna debut Professor Possible here on Mississippi Live Weather.
Well, I thought it was Professor Unpredictable.
Unpredictable, is that what it is?
I think so.
Professor, how about Professor Predictable? Because it's predictable that you're going to try to forecast the long range stuff there, right?
I'm going to try, but I don't know if my efforts will prevail, because my side of focus right now is directly on the camera. Anything beyond that, we're about to go through this together. All right, so what we're tracking today is flash flooding, and that is part of Severe Weather Preparedness Week.
You can take that off.
Do I?
You can take. I guess we'll save those for when we're actually talking about the long range stuff next time. How about that?
Keep these on ice. Don't worry, the blind will be back. But yes, as we're talking about Severe Weather Preparedness Week, there is some key tips that we're talking about. And one of the biggest things is turn around, don't drown. That's the message you hear often. It's a cliche saying, but but it does save lives, because how often are we driving down the road and you see these barricades that are up, or even if they're not up, and basically the road going directly into water. Now this happens whenever there's an extreme amount of rainfall. We've seen it many times here in Mississippi, and one of the more recent instances of a significant flooding event was actually the Guadalupe, Texas floods that several lives were taken from just because it was an extreme amount of rainfall in such a short period of time. And that's where we're dealing with the potential for flash flooding. You can see 6 inches of water, and I'll put this in play here real quick and go behind the scenes. But basically what you get is you get that rainfall coming down, and if you're driving down the road, be like this vehicle, see the barricade, turn around, and like he is, don't drown. 6 inches of water equals a person potentially being swept away. And this is whenever it rises those creeks or rivers, rises those beds, and causes that current to be on a more elevated surface and potentially on those roadways as well. And whenever that happens, 12 inches of water, which we have seen multiple times, equals a car or SUV potentially being swept away, and a large vehicle happening about 18 inches of water. Now this does have some give or take, but nonetheless you get the message that it can take lives, it can take vehicles, and with that strong current, we need to stay prepared. And one of the best ways to stay prepared for floods is know your risk. Are you in a floodplain or a flood-prone area? That includes some low-lying areas, some land around creeks is also a floodplain. So just know where you are and know that if there's a heavy chance of rainfall, that you need to prepare and maybe move those locations for the time being. There is also, of course, checking insurance for coverage of flooding. If you are in one of those flood-prone areas, clear those storm drains of any loose debris. I will tell you this, I have covered many floods in my lifetime, and it's not too long either, but you know, it happens so often. And half the time, if those flood drains were just cleared, and that happens with debris, with leaves, sticks, things like that, trash, if they get in those drains, that clogs it up, and then there's no way for that water to escape. And that's where you get that buildup to happen. And if you get enough rainfall, that buildup starts to reach some life-threatening levels. And as in any case that we talk about with emergency or disaster situations, charge those electronic devices beforehand so you can call for help if need be, or so that way you can have it in case there's an extended period of time where you don't have power or anything like that. But when we're talking about those flash flood risk, we're talking about a watch and those warnings. And if we look at that watch, that means conditions are once again favorable for flooding. We were talking about the ingredients yesterday. Same thing happens with this scenario, but ingredients for flash flooding include a heavy amount of rainfall over an isolated area. And that isolated area could be a mile, could be several miles. It just depends on how much rainfall is happening and how large that flood-prone area is. That watch is issued for favorable areas of flooding, so that's where we need to be prepared. But whenever we need to take action is whenever these water levels already start to climb because of the heavy rainfall, and that's where imminent action is necessary and needed in order to save lives. And because, you know, it doesn't show it too much, but if this water level gets to where that bridge is then submerged, well, the vehicle won't be able to drive past it. You do get that current of water that's unfortunately going to take the car as well. So if you get out, then you're stuck in that water as well. So this is where it becomes a real life-threatening situation, is because this isn't what we'd see with a severe thunderstorm watch. This is its own type of risk, its own type of danger that we often just shove under the rug. No, this can still be impactful. It can take lives. We've seen both of those things happen, unfortunately, and it can happen quickly. We mentioned the Guadalupe River flood earlier on this broadcast, and that whole situation was almost unavoidable at that point because of how quickly the rain fell. You know, it didn't give enough time to react. And so, Matt, folks over there, it was just kind of a, you know, once in a forever type situation.
Let's say this. I wouldn't say it was unavoidable. I would say that flash flooding is dangerous and they are in a flood-prone area. And a lot of times we only believe what we have seen before can happen again, right? If we've had a big flood here, then a flood here is possible. If we've never had a big flood here, then it's not possible. You know, that was an area there that has had extreme flooding in the past. And in that time of year, in that similar situation, you just have to make sure you have people that understand that that's possible, and that when the warning comes out, you have to get up as quickly as possible.
And it was forecasting, shout out to the meteorologists out there, because they were forecasting a large amount of rainfall. It was just the fact that it came down over the same area. I think that during my time, it was back in 2023 or 24, in Louisville, it was 12 inches of rainfall in just a set amount of hours. and the Dollar General got submerged. There were several locations that were just flooded. And that's what we're talking about with flash flooding when it becomes really concerning, is that heavy rainfall over a short period of time in the same location is when it builds up.
Yeah, if you have those basins where it really, one of the good things is we drain pretty well here in North Mississippi. So we're much more likely to get what we call aerial flooding. And that's just the water that builds up and sits there as opposed to the fast moving stuff. And I say that, but that's never what we want to assume is happening.
Well, and I want to say with winter, and this is one of the things I notice every year, and it catches me off guard every year, but it's like, it makes sense. There's not as much drainage during the winter months because everything is dead. So the roots that normally absorb that water, they're not exactly working. They don't need to work as everything is kind of waiting out the winter season. And so that's why your ground can remain soggy for several days, is because that ground isn't really doing anything to absorb it. So as we transition more in the spring season, we almost become more absorbent, if that's a way to put it. And that'll help with flooding.
The surfaces aren't as frozen surface doesn't, absorb very well. Okay, before we go too deep into the weeds here, we have a question I need to figure out here. Statewide tornado drill tomorrow. I need to double check the time. Do you know that time off the top of your head, Gabe? I don't know.
It's usually noon, but I can check.
No, it isn't. It's usually like 9 a.m., something like that. So on weekends, it's noon when they test it, but the statewide one, when they do it, they typically do that at like 8:30, 9 a.m., somewhere around that time frame. I haven't seen a specific time, and I've been kind of looking here while you were talking a bit ago. I don't see it.
I believe this one says 9:15. I saw a link. I'm trying to pull it up exactly.
Right. So I know it's 9:15 because I'm almost always getting my hair cut when it happens. And let's check and see. No haircut tomorrow.
So is it happening?
Yeah, it is. So 9:15 tomorrow. So, hey, the reason to bring that up is, 9:15 tomorrow, be thinking about where you would shelter if it were the real deal, and that largely comes back to, knowing where your safe place is. And the safe place for flooding, like what you see behind me, is going to end up being different than safe place for, severe or active weather, something along those lines. I'll put a different graphic behind me here for a moment. So make sure you know where a sturdy structure is, a place you would go in the middle of the lowest floor, a small windowless room where you could wrap up in blankets and pillows, put on a helmet to protect yourself from debris. And if a tornado would be the case, stay there until we give you the all clear. So we expect 9 o'clock tomorrow. Now, I will say this, Gabe. Tink in our comments section there says 9:15, James Bishop. There we go, from the Storm Chasers. It typically is when it is there. So yeah, so we're going to, we will probably, practice ourselves. So encourage you to do the same thing for tomorrow. That when that tornado drill goes off, to just be looking around and say, hey, if a real tornado was going on right now, this is where we would shelter. That kind of forward-thinking thought process is something that can save your life. And I do think it's important here. We'll talk about this more the next couple of days about what is an unsafe place. Cars, trucks, mobile homes are all unsafe places, large open rooms, upper floors, and rooms with windows, because basically we want to think inside as far as possible and down as low as possible to protect ourselves from the potential for flying debris. So tomorrow is tornadoes and severe weather preparedness day, and we got to be thinking ahead for tomorrow. One other fact I want to mention, and this is not a knock on anyone or anything, but this is a statistical fact. In the state of Mississippi, you are 20 times more likely to die if you're hit by a tornado and you're in a mobile home. 360 days, maybe even 363 days a year. It's an excellent place to live. But there are about 2 days a year that we need to plan to be someplace else. We need to plan to visit a friend or a family member that's in a sturdier structure. And it just comes down to the foundation. A wind can get beneath it and can roll them over. Do I still think that mobile homes make sense for a lot of people? Yes. Would I live in a mobile home? I do not, but I would, as long as I had a plan on those 2 or 3 other days of the year where we need to be someplace else. So when we're thinking about tornado safety, that is the fact and it is something to keep in mind. Just to know that there's about 2 or 3 days a year we want to be someplace safer. And that's not Matt talking to you here. That is cold hard statistics nationally. Believe it or not, nationally, that's 20 times more likely. And in Mississippi, doing some research, it's actually a bit more than that. But the takeaway should be we want to be thinking about that sturdiest structure and that safest location as we move from maybe something outside to inside to reinforced, going from someplace where we know we're not safe to maybe a friend's house that we know we're safer in severe weather. Our next broadcast is going to be coming up here during 10 p.m. Our meteorologist Gabe Manor will be looking at some of those extended forecasts related to the rain and storm chances as we head toward this upcoming weekend. And he'll have the very latest on that here in the Room to Room Weather Center. Before we go, though, we still have stuff related to sports. Gabe, you need to head back on over there to the monitor, and we need to kind of pull up the kind of sports stuff there as well, so we can talk about that for a second. I see you going back and forth there. I'll let you pull that up. No. Don't worry about that. I want you to pull it up on the other thing, the other monitor there. Gabe was getting me all hooked up with the forecast here, and again, appreciate the good folks at Langston and Lott, Casey Lott there for sponsoring our Mississippi Live Game of the Week. Tip-off of that game is going to be coming up again on Friday evening, and with us now in playoff action there, tournament style, 7 p.m. again, tip-off to those games. Our Game of the Week, though, we kind of went with different regions as far as that's going for that, and Gabe, I'll let you kind of take that away.
Well, I want to say that, Matt, you and I were not alone, because I was on the phone with Annalise earlier, and she said, what do you mean district, or what do you mean region? And she said, is it playoffs already? So we're not alone in thinking, wow, this season has just flown by. But as we take a look at where we're headed this week, of course, it does look a little bit different. You do see that there are regions that are being represented here, with those host locations listed on the side as well, with some of those being East Union, Nettleton, Northeast, ICC, Tisch County, and West Point. But where things stand right now, still a heavy favorite up there for East Union. The Urchins hosting 2A Region 2 action, and they are the 1 seed. So will we see them Friday night? It's up to them. But will we see any of these locations Friday night? That's all up to you. So a lot of factors in this at play, but we're excited to get out there this Friday night. And this does not wrap up until 10 o'clock tonight. So although my family does have ties to the Urchins, and if I had any bias, I guess that would be it. But you guys do decide that at 10 o'clock, and we'll be delighted to go wherever you want us to go this Friday night.
Yeah, we don't put our thumb on that scale. Like, we chose, intentionally chose a bunch of competitive regions. So we're excited to see where we end up there. And again, excited to partner with Casey Lott and the folks at Langston Lott for our Mississippi Live Game of the Week. We showed this at 5 o'clock. I have not shown it at 6 o'clock, and then we're going to wrap up after this here. But it is SEC kickoff for baseball season here, and both Ole Miss and Mississippi State are going to have some home openers here. And Gabe and I will probably be doing high school stuff or tracking the storm chances. It's Caleb and Maggie that are lucky enough to get to kind of go out and kind of take care of all the baseball stuff on the SEC level. And appreciate Carl Hogan Toyota for being our partner with that. Expecting obviously some shower and thunderstorm chances to probably impact, especially Saturday and maybe Sunday's games. So I think Saturday the most likely to have some impacts there. Again, 69, that peak temperature on Saturday. We'll see how game times end up lasting, whether or not they end up moving around a little bit. Both Mississippi State and Ole Miss home, and you'll notice slightly cooler there in Oxford for the games. And again, rain chances Saturday. I would say the thunderstorm chances may be a little bit more likely there in Oxford at this point. That's something we'll adjust as we get a little bit closer. Okay, for meteorologist Gabe Manor. I mentioned Caleb. Caleb's going to be there in Starkville, and Maggie gets to go to Oxford. You'll get me probably tracking storms here, and probably get Gabe at our Game of the Week location as we kind of fan out, spanning the North Mississippi. Anyway, we'll see you at 10.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.